Well, last week you said in the interview with Stina that you thought that Sophie might have a bit of an advantage, and we certainly saw that starting off tonight. When you watched it, did anything surprise you?
It was, the first hole was kind of a surprise, but, you don't usually start off, knocking the pin down in a match like that. But Sophie started off very strong, and there were a lot of mistakes on both parts. The putting was poor and in spots for both players, and then, the tables turned a few times. I was surprised at the start, and then I was surprised at what Kim did, and then I was surprised that Sophie started losing focus. She started hitting some, kind of like what Kim said in one part of the show, that she hadn't hit a shot that bad in the whole 16 days or 17 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting. It could just be the wear and tear of the whole experience and, lack of focus at that point in time for Sophie, but it was an interesting match, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, how often did you guys actually play the Royal course?
We got to play a practice round the first day that we were in town on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
About 90% of the show took place on the Kai course. We had an elimination challenge take place on the ninth hole of that course. And that's where Kim had three-putted a few times in an elimination challenge. That's why they made reference to that.
It obviously, those greens, though, were brutal. I mean, just a tap and it just goes screaming by. But, you know what that's like.
Well, it was very, whenever you're dealing with grain, you have to have some local knowledge. And, Kim probably had the most local knowledge, being that the director of golf, Ed, was on her bag. But, you've had to be able to see things and feel things, and it takes more than being on a golf course once to sort those things out. And I think that, it was kind of obvious that, I hadn't been on a golf course and struggled with my putting, and then, Kim and Sophie both struggled at different points in times with their putting because the greens are just difficult in Hawaii. You really have to, know them or play them or understand them or have somebody, kind of point you in the right direction.
So you said that the director of golf was Kim's caddy. Who was the caddy for Sophie? And how did they pick the caddies for the two ladies?
Well, primarily what they've done as a tradition on the big break is they've always picked either a head pro or director of golf or assistant pro, whoever the people, are that are kind of in the chain of command, the higher up in the chain of command, and if they wanted to do it, they always asked them to take part.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe, I actually believe that they probably just picked the name out of the hat. I'm not really sure. I can't remember how Kim got Ed and how Sophie got Suki, but they both were, employees of the club, and, Ed oversees the whole place. But you got two people who know the golf course and know the greens and can help, greatly if you let them.
Well, the match was extremely friendly match. Like, there was absolutely no question that Sophie and Kim like each other, and so it was all about, good camaraderie out there. Do you know if they were chit-chatty around the course at all, or were they all business?
Well, Sophie is known in Europe as the quiet one. She doesn't do a lot of chit-chatting, and she doesn't do a lot of, that going back and forth. But during the big break, she didn't act anything like she did on the European tour, as far as what I heard.
Mm.
And we made a couple comments to her about that, and she's, basically said that she really wanted to learn how to be more fun and easygoing like she was during the big break. And she really was easygoing and, chatted and, there's, everybody on the show really got along fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we are on tours. You talk to your player, the people you're playing with. It doesn't matter if it's a big break or a U.S. Open. You still, there's still some camaraderie, and, there's still some ways to have a little fun with who you're playing with.
Mm-hmm.
And Sophie and Kim were doing that, and I think they enjoyed playing together, but, also knew that there was a lot at stake.
Well, she got the trip to Ireland. She looked pretty happy about that. It'll be, yeah, that'll be nice for her. So that was good to see. Yeah, she didn't look all that upset when she lost. So I guess the question, did she actually lose or did Kim win?
It's tough to say. It was a long, a long couple of weeks of long hours and, battling out. And, when you get into the final match, sometimes, people make the cut, they grind to make a cut, and then once they make the cut, they forget to keep grinding.
Mm.
And, sometimes when you get to the final match, you forget you have to keep grinding, and you become a little too complacent. You're not as sharp, and you saw Sophie hit some shots that Sophie has not hit in the whole entire show. So, I think that maybe they finally got to the end, and maybe both of them took a couple of extra breaths, and, maybe both of them weren't as sharp as they should have been. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes that's what happens in golf. You work so hard to get to the final day that you forget you still have to play on the final day.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it was at one point she said something like, "Are there any easy putts on this course?" And you could just sort of see that frustration on her. So, well, it's been great talking to you. We're wrapping it up, obviously. This is the last interview, and I want to thank you very much. You've been a real sport speaking to us every week, and I wish you a lot of luck. You keep grinding, all right?
All right, Gail. Thanks very much.